personally accompanied his guests to Egypt, most probably to the fortified Ramses, the new capital of the country. It was Ramses II's most friendly and warm attitude that persuaded the reserved king of the Hittites to accept the invitation. However, an emergency stood in the way of the execution of the visit, when the Hittite king woke up one morning with hot feet. In the language of our modern times, it means that inflamed feet temporarily postponed the visit, and the Egyptians were informed. The Hittites also said that a medical report of the king's condition would be sent about the developments in the king's health condition, according to which the time of the visit would be defined. That dealing with the topic of the visit told about a vision that the queen of Khiba had had. She saw a person who talked to her in the name of God, saying, "Swear by goddess Ninja in the disease of the feet's inflammation or burning goes and leaves his excellency safe, that he would have him gold drawers encrusted with lapis lazuli from his palace in Egypt. The king's feet did heal, and a message to Egypt said he had already left the city on his way to Egypt. Most probably the two great men of the age had met in the Karnak's land and came together to kill Ramses." It is most unfortunate that we have no exact evidence or information about that historic event. Something like a memorial monument in Ramses or Hathis, for instance. Perhaps such a monument was made but had disappeared as a result of the ravages of time. However, an Egyptian educational papyrus from Memphis tells about a light passage written by the great king of Hitta in the ruler of Kos, north of Syria, persuading him to hasten preparations of going to Egypt to offer his greetings to Ramses II. Similarly, a deformed note was discovered in Thebes with an ideal opening of a message by any Tishub I, the king of Karkamash. And all of these indications are certain that the historic Egyptian-Hittite summit had actually taken place despite lack of definite documents or evidence. Anyway, it should be understandable that relations between Hitta and Egypt have been consolidated as a result of the exchanged visits of the two countries' senior officials, notably the great king of Hitta's visit, which was preceded by his son and crown prince visit, in addition to the intermarriage of Ramses II himself and the daughter of this king. Relations reached their top point on the official and personal levels when Hitta III offered to marry a second daughter of his to Ramses II, which the latter accepted. The happy occasion was marked by the probate of the royal court of the gift of the goddess. In the coming edition of the programs, ladies and gentlemen, we shall produce those texts. With this, dear listeners, we come to the end of tonight's edition of Weekly Text from Ancient Egypt. Weekly Text is a weekly program compiled to you by Fatih Mustafa. Best wishes comes to you from our sound engineer for tonight, Muhammad Abdelwaz, and this is Samir wishing you the best of luck.
مصري مصري دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك. قوم يا مصري مصر دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك.
عمر شعبك ما انتصر إلا بإيديك، عز مجدك ما ارتفع يوم إلا بيك. عمر شعبك ما انتصر إلا بإيديك، عز مجدك ما ارتفع يوم إلا بيك.
قوم يا مصري مصر دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك. قوم يا مصري مصر دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك.
نار سلاحك عالأعادي للنهار، تمشي في الأعداء تدمرهم دمار. نار سلاحك عالأعادي للنهار، تمشي في الأعداء تدمرهم دمار. استرد الصحراء والأرض العمار، من كفاحك من شجاعتك الانتصار.
قوم يا مصري مصري دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك. قوم يا مصري مصري دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك.
أي نقطة دم من جسمك تسيل في طريق النصر تبقى لك دليل. أي نقطة دم من جسمك تسيل في طريق النصر تبقى لك دليل.
قوم يا مصري مصري دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك. قوم يا مصري مصري دايما بتناديك تحمي أرضك وانتصر علي عديك.
المعارك انت فارسها الوحيد، همتك عالية وقلبك من حديد. المعارك انت
It's 1:15 in Cairo. Ladies and gentlemen, the news. The news coming to you from the North America Conservative Radio Cairo, and first the main stories. The Arab League backs Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas trying to seek UN investors who is unable to declare an independent state. Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahmoud calls upon country members of the Francophone Egypt nomination to be a permanent member in the UN Security Council. French President François Hollande warns African leaders against trying to hang on to power. The Turkish army confirms that Daesh group terrorists had staged an attack at the border post close to the Syrian town of Hebron. And finally, Russia urges the European Union to lift sanctions against Moscow and promised to raise it to measures. Now to more details. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi today confirmed that the Palestinian cause is a priority to the Egyptian foreign policy, stressing that the solution to the issue is the central point of achieving stability and security in the Middle East region. President al-Sisi also said that reaching a solution to the Palestinian conflict would help avoid all acts of violence on the hand of extremist groups. The Palestinian gave a statement during a meeting today with visiting Palestinian President Abbas. The President maintained Egypt will support the Palestinian cause until an independent Palestinian state is established so that its capital is Jerusalem. He urged all parties concerned to take steps that would push this whole process forward. The Arab League today backed Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas' plan to seek UN endorsement for a timetable to declare an independence. Rejected recognizing Israel as a Jewish nation. The statement said the ministers agreed a plan which
includes submitting an Arab proposal to the United Nations Security Council to end the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land. The 22-member bloc also backed Palestinian plans to seek membership in United Nations agencies and international courts. Earlier, Abbas told Arab League foreign ministers in Cairo that he had put off such a step repeatedly in response to requests from Washington, but that we cannot wait any longer, as he was quoted. Abbas also warned that the Palestinians could take other steps, including joining the International Criminal Court if the Security Council rejects the resolution.
Prosecutor General Hisham Barakat today assigned his technical bureau to prepare an integrated study on the legal reasons behind the verdict issued today by Cairo Criminal Court acquitting ousted President Hosni Mubarak as a step paving the way for a contest on the verdict. The verdict included also Mubarak's two sons, former Interior Minister Habib Ladli, his 6 aides, as well as fugitive businessman Hussein Salim. The court dismissed today a murder charge against Mubarak over the death of protesters during a 2011 revolution uprising, sparking celebrations among supporters but fury from opponents. Mubarak was also acquitted of a corruption charge but will remain in detention because he is serving a 3-year sentence in a separate graft case. Dozens of protesters later gathered at an entrance to Cairo's Tahrir Square to protest the verdict. 6 of Al-Adli aides were acquitted in connection with the death of protesters during the revolt. Mubarak was later transported back to a Cairo military hospital where he is serving his sentence.
Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab today called upon country members of the Francophone to support Egypt's nomination to be a member in the UN Security Council for the term 2016-2017 in a bid to let Egypt be the voice for Francophone countries. This came in Mahlab's speech before the 15th Summit of Francophone countries, which opened in the Senegalese capital Dakar today. He also stressed Egypt's complete commitment to work on realizing peace and security in the African continent and the Middle East, pointing out that Egypt was the first to put the issue of curbing terrorism on the UN agenda, being a global threat to international peace and security.
French President François Hollande warned African leaders today against trying to hang on to power, praising peaceful political transitions in Burkina Faso and Tunisia as positive examples to the continent. Addressing African heads of state at the opening of a 2-day summit of Francophone nations in the Senegalese capital Dakar, Hollande also added that France would continue to support regional efforts to fight extremist militants. Hollande said that the example of Burkina Faso should give a pause for thought to those who would like to stay in power by violating the constitutional order. Hollande urged Burkina Faso's transitional authorities mandated to guide the West African nation to elections next year to concentrate on reconciliation. Cameroonian President Biya also called for greater African solidarity in fighting the militants in northern Nigeria, which borders the west of his own country.
This news comes to you from Cairo. The Turkish army today confirmed that Daesh group terrorists had staged an attack at the border post close to the Syrian town of Kobani, but denied the car involved in the strike had come from its territory. The army said in a statement quoted by Turkish media, claims that the car involved in the ISIS attack on the Muris-Tinip border post came from Turkey allies. No statement to that effect has any authority. Some pro-Kurdish media said earlier that a suicide attack had been staged by a vehicle that had arrived from Turkish territory, raising new questions about Turkey's commitment to fight Daesh group.
Moscow was quoted as saying by Interfax news agency, "The only thing we expect is for them to leave the meaningless sanctions spiral and move on to the path of lifting the sanctions and dropping the blacklist. This should allow us to drop our list."
Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy said in Catalonia today that he would not allow any challenge to national unity on his first visit to the region since its symbolic vote on independence. Rajoy said in a speech to supporters of his conservative Popular Party in the region's main city of Barcelona, "I will not allow challenges to the unity of Spain. No one should have to choose between being Catalan or Spanish." It was Rajoy's first visit to the wealthy northeastern region since the symbolic vote on independence, which Madrid tried to stop with a court injunction.
Pope Francis today stood alongside the top Islamic cleric in a moment of highly symbolic contemplation at an Ottoman mosque as he visited Istanbul on his first trip to the former capital of the Christian Byzantine world. On the second day of this visit to Turkey, Francis toured key religious and historical sites in the city once known as Constantinople, that was conquered by the Ottoman army in 1453. The visit of the Pope is seen as a crucial test of France's ability to build bridges between faiths amid the rampage by Daesh extremists in Iraq and Syria and concerns over the persecution of Christian minorities in the Middle East.
The Baltic nation of Lithuania today unveiled what it billed as the world's largest ever coin pyramid ahead of its switch from the lightest currency. Will become the 19th member of the Eurozone on January the 1st, 2015.
And finally, Turkish police today forcefully broke up a student-protected law to President Tayyip Erdogan's new presidential palace, with one policeman and students. Video footage showed police wearing body armor using pepper spray to break